Hi class, today we are going to cover how to make a simple house in SketchUp. I'm assuming your instructor has already gone over all of the benefits of SketchUp and the different types of jobs that you can do with SketchUp. So let's go ahead and just get started. Here on the left, you can see your toolbar. The main thing that we're going to focus on right now, and you'll see enlarged versions of this so you can see what the tool looks like a little bit better. We're going to start out with the rectangle tool. The first thing that we need to do is pick a spot where we want the rectangle tool. So we click and all we do is drag. Now that we have a flat shape, you may be asking yourself, what can I do with a flat shape? The answer in SketchUp is to pull it up into 3 dimensions, and for this you'll want the push-pull tool, as you can see here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the push-pull tool. You'll notice that other tools pop up, but we're focusing on this one. Once you've clicked the one that's in the preview right here, that is the tool you've selected. You don't have to go up and click on it again. And I want you to recognize the dots that you see on the shape versus when you don't see them. When you have the dots, that means you can manipulate the object. So we're going to go ahead and pull this up. And the reason why I've left our friend here on the screen, I want to make sure my house is taller than a person so that you can tell how big a house is compared to the average individual that carries a ukulele. So I'm going to make it a little bit taller. Now we have kind of the body of the house, but we need a roof. So the first thing that we're going to do is go over to the line tool, and you don't have to go over to the line tool. You can just hit the letter L for line tool and also the letter P for push-pull tool. And a lot of my students call this the pencil, but it's called the line tool. We're going to go ahead and trace this line until we find a light blue dot. Once we find the light blue dot, then we click. We do not click until we see it. Now that we have our midpoint, you can kind of see this is just like a flat roof in a way. So we need to pull the roof up, and you may be thinking you would just use the push-pull tool. If I use the push-pull tool to do the roof, this is what happens. You make a step instead of a roof. So I'm going to go ahead and undo. If you click on this little arrow up here, it undoes. Or you can hit Control and Z on your keyboard. And this is handy to know when you make a mistake and you just want to go back a step or two. A lot of my students will just hold down on Control Z and just get rid of the whole thing. You don't want to do that. You want to go slow. So we're going to go to the Move tool. And as you may have guessed, the shortcut to the Move tool is M for Move tool. I'm going to grab this middle line. Make sure you're not on this face here or this face here. You want to be on the middle line. When you pull it up, it should snap to blue axis. As you can see on the screen, it says on blue axis. So now we have a basic house shape, but it's not quite like a house. So what I want to do is I want to flip the house underneath, and we're going to look for the offset tool. The offset tool is grouped with the push-pull tool. Now, the letter O does not bring up the offset tool. The letter O brings up the orbit tool, which is down here, which I actually should have already explained, so I do apologize for that. Let me explain the orbit tool real quick. The orbit tool, it's kind of like rotating a screen in a video game. If you click on the orbit tool, it allows you to go all the way around your object. If you just push down on the mouse wheel, that automatically brings up the orbit tool. If you roll the mouse wheel away from you and towards you, it zooms in and out. Okay, so now that we've got that explained, I'm going to go ahead and rotate under this, and that leaves me where the shortcut is for the offset tool. If you hit F, that automatically turns into the offset tool, the letter F. Or you can take the time to go over here and click on it. The old-fashioned way.
Nope.
All right. So you might be asking yourself, why did I make a square on the bottom of the house? I'm going to take the push-pull tool, and I'm going to grab this edge and push it up. Okay, so we're not quite complete with the roof here. What I want to do is, once again, take the line tool. I'm going to start from this corner, and I'm going to go all the way to the peak of the roof. And you should see some dotted lines right here. That tells me that I've gone straight down. That's important. So once I click here, I go to this other corner, and I need my push-pull tool next. So I'm going to take the push-pull tool and push it to the limit. And it will tell me when the limit is reached. And I'm going to take my eraser tool by hitting the letter E for eraser. And I'm going to get rid of this line. So again, I'm going to take my line tool, go to the peak, go down, make sure I have that dotted line, and go to the corner here on the other side. Take the push-pull tool, push this in until it says limit reached, take my eraser, and delete the line. Okay, so it's starting to look more and more like a house. Next, I want to do a door with steps. So I'm going to go ahead and take the rectangle tool by hitting the letter R, and I'm going to go to this bottom line here. And at your grade level, we mostly just eyeball it, which means we just try to look to see what looks right and if it's in the middle. Okay, so next I want to take the line tool, and similar to the roof, we're going to go to the midpoint. And then we'll go to the other midpoint. Next, I need the push-pull tool. I hit the letter P for push-pull. Again, you can do it the old-fashioned way and click over here, take the time. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my step. And obviously you don't pull the top one out as far. And you can see that created a line. So ask yourself, what can we do? What did we do before to get rid of a line? It was the eraser tool. So we'll go ahead and delete that line. And delete the line on the other side. Now obviously we don't want steps leading to nowhere. And if you're not happy with your steps, you can pull them up a little bit if you would like. You can pull them out, you can pull them up, and kind of adjust them to your liking. I'm going to go ahead and take the rectangle tool. And again, we're going to eyeball it. At a more advanced, we would use the tape measure tool. But there is a trick if you don't quite get it where you want it. So let's say I wanted to move the door a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and take the select tool, click, and then I will hold down shift and click the other lines. And if I wanted to move this to where it looks a little bit better, I just click and move it over. I can adjust it to make sure it's kind of even. And this kind of brings up our next part. If we hit F for offset, we can now do a door. All right. Next, I'll take the push-pull tool and pull my door frame out a little bit. And for the purposes of this assignment, we're just going to do a circle for the door handle. So it's best to zoom in. Otherwise, the circle just will suddenly get really large if you're really far zoomed out. So I'm looking for the approximate place to put the door handle. And again, if you don't like it, you can click on it, use the move tool and move it. And if you want, you can pull it out a little bit. And finally, the last part here, it takes a little practice, but we're going to go ahead and take the line tool and we're going to make a little square right here. So as you notice, that line is green. That means my line is straight. I don't want it to be that color because it's not straight. So here, and I'm going to take what's called the follow me tool and wrap this around the house. So this is the follow me tool. I'm going to go ahead and grab it. I'm going to move this slightly. If you look here, this allows you to slide or pan, and this allows you to orbit. In this case, we want to slide. So I can see most of the bottom of the house. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my follow me tool, and I'm going to grab that little square and pull it around the house. As you can see, you just guide it along and it follows you. Now here, it's hard to control the follow me tool in this last little part, so I actually stop right here, and then I'll take the push-pull tool and just pull it the rest of the way. And then obviously your final step here would be to use the paint bucket. But let's go ahead and do a simple window before we start on that. So I'm going to go ahead and take the rectangle tool. I'm going to click and just start my window. I'll go ahead and take my line tool and find the midpoint. Find the midpoint here and go to the midpoint here. Now, this is a little too simplistic, so let's change it up a bit. And we're going to use the offset tool again. Now that you see where the dots, wherever the dots are is where it's affected. So let's pull this out. And then in the other panes of the window, this is called a 4-pane window, you just double click and it copies what you already did. And then finally, we want to take the eraser tool and delete this middle line here. Take our push-pull and pull the window frame out. So if you go and look at your house, there's usually a window on each side. There's a back door. So you want to go ahead and add a back door, extra windows to complete your house. But this is just the basics to get a simple house structure completed. And then finally, you want to take the paint bucket. And by default, the paint bucket shows up under Home or in Model. You'll want to go to the Browse feature. And as you can see, there are a lot of different options. And feel free to experiment with it. There's landscaping, fencing, vegetation, brick, So if you wanted a brick house, you could do a brick house. We'll go to roofing and just add your roofing. And keep in mind with the free version of SketchUp, if your structure is extremely large, you're not going to be able to see the individual roof tiles. It's just going to appear to be a grayish color in this example. And you can check to see how the different roofing looks, to see if it's something to your liking. I personally prefer this one. And then maybe find a matching color for your paint. And so on. I'll let you guys go ahead and decide how you want to color this. And feel free to experiment with the house as much as possible. Try to add different things around it, maybe like a pool. You know the rectangle tool, you know the offset tool. I think just from that, you should be able to build a pool next to your house. And feel free to ask your teacher for any questions that you might have. But that's all I have for you today. Have a good day.